Welcome to 84 changes for 84 brawlers. One change per brawler, whether it's a buff, new ability, or a nerf. What would I do? Well, today you're gonna find out. Also, if you were watching on a phone, I challenge you to flip your phone, catch it perfectly, and then subscribe without even looking. Shelly, I would give her a mythic gear that boosts her movement speed while she has her super. Nita, I would fix the hitbox on her main attack so then it doesn't pass through walls as easily. Colt, I would buff Silver Bullet's damage just by a little bit because it's fun to see it actually do decent damage. Bull, I would rework Stomper gadget into his base kit where you push your super again and you stop charging, and leave Stomper as a gadget that you can use whenever you want, but you don't need to be using your super. Brock, I would increase his projectile speed just by a little bit because he is absolute garbage at mid-range. El Primo, I would fix his hypercharge to make it do what they said it would do in the Brawl Talk because it doesn't. Barley, honestly, I think he's fine, but I would maybe just give him like a little bit more damage or a little bit more health. Poco, I would make his hypercharge overshield work even if the brawler isn't already at full HP. If you are anything like me, you probably use your phone for like 3 different reasons. Reason number 1, general stuff like calling, texting, all that. Reason number 2, watching YouTube videos or doom scrolling through short content. And reason number 3, most importantly, video games. And what if I told you there was one phone that did all of those things better than the rest? Well, that one phone is the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. I'll use my face as a comparison. As you can see, this phone has a massive 7.6-inch inner screen size, which is pretty big, which compared to something like the iPhone 16 is not only larger, but rather than using the window in window feature, you can just use half of the screen for one thing, half of the screen for another. You can essentially have a full screen size window for multiple different things. And if you ever feel like this screen size might be a little bit too big, you could just fold it up and then you have a pretty average phone screen size that you can use for anything that you might want to. Of course, there's also a ton you can do with Galaxy AI. The camera is very good. Overall, it's what you would expect, if not more, from a new gen phone, but you have these extra assets that a lot of people like me could use. So it is just another step up. So go buy a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 for yourself using my link in the description. And thank you to Samsung for sponsoring today's video. Rosa, I would make her Unfriendly Bushes gadget deal poison damage instead, so then it reveals people for a little bit longer. Jessie, I would make her shots move a little bit faster after they bounce. Dynamite, I would replace Satchel Charge with literally anything else. Delete that gadget. Tick, I would delete his automatic reload star power and just replace it with the reload gear. 8-Bit, I would make this gadget do something more than just shoot a billion bullets. Rico, I would nerf this gadget to make it so then all of those balls can't hit an enemy at the same time. Daryl, I would make it so then you actually have to overcharge his super to get the second one instead of just getting 2 as soon as you get your super. Penny, I would make her trusty spyglass gadget shoot multiple times at per target. Carl, I kind of want to lower his range but increase his damage. Imagine an assassin Carl. Jackie, I would change her Hardy Hardhat star power to need some kind of requirement for it to activate. Having a permanent 20% shield is kind of weird when nobody else really has that. Gus, I would make it so then if you have your spooky bar filled and you miss your super, it'll actually drop him on the ground for somebody to pick it up. Bo, I would honestly just delete this gadget and replace it with something that helps him defensively. Ems, I would replace this gadget that goes through walls with something that actually helps her super out. Stu, I would give him a hypercharge and make his super deal knockback. Hyper, I would remove the slowing effect from her auto aimer gadget. Pam, I would increase the healing from her mama's hug star power. Frank, I would remove the sponge star power and replace it with something more fun, like maybe a shield while he's supering or something like that. BB, if her home run bar is active, I would let her attack her super and bounce it back. B, I would change her honeycomb star power to maybe work on her super instead of her charge attack because you don't really want to ever hold your charge attack. Nani, I would heavily nerf the shield on return to sender. The damage it does is good enough. Edgar, I would put this hard landing star power in his base kit and replace it with something more interesting. It is an interesting ability and that's why I think people should have it from the start, but adding something else to a brawler like this could be cool. Griff, please remove this gadget. It is useless. Replace it with anything else. Grom, I would rework his foot patrol star power to either make it give him a speed boost when he hits the super or hits an attack, because holding on to your super, again, doesn't really make sense. Bonnie, I would rework her crash test gadget to instead make her super shoot faster, kind of like the Piper hypercharge. Gale, I would change his twister gadget to make it so then if somebody bounces off of it, it reduces the timer. Colette, I would nerf her healing gadget because 80% healing is too much for 5 seconds. Belle, I would make her reverse polarity gadget actually deal bonus damage to make it feel more rewarding when you hit it. Ash, I would give him a hypercharge that instantly fills his rage bar and doubles the amount of rats that he spawns. Lola, I would make it so then you can actually see an aiming reticle on her clone. It just makes sense. I know it makes things a little bit easier, but this is one of those things that should have been in the game from the start. If they made this change, so many more people would play the brawler. Sam, I would rework remote recharge to simply make it recharge his super over time no matter if anybody's standing on it or not. And it would make it balanced because his other star power is so broken. Mandy, I would honestly just delete her in my sights star power. Nothing will ever top that, and it should just be in her base kit so then they can replace it with a different option because nobody is going to choose her other star power as long as this one exists. Maisie, I would change the color at the end of Maisie's ammo to show the actual window of where her star power that does extra damage is actually effective. Hank, I would make it so then he could be a little bit farther away from a wall for his star power to work. I have it on right now, by the way. Pearl, I would change Pearl's healing gadget to make her eat the heat bar but heal herself because nobody uses this. She's not a healer. Larry, I would buff this gadget where Larry and Lori switch weapons, maybe by giving Larry a movement speed boost while he has Lori's weapon. Angelo, this is the same for Eve. I would give them a timer that limits how long they can be on water that recharges while they're off water. The water mechanic is the most broken thing in this game. Barry, I would make Barry's super auto aim onto enemies rather than going where he's walking. I would let Mortis's combo spinner gadget actually heal him a little bit because absolutely nobody uses it and the other one has more value. Tara, I would make Tara's hypercharge actually useful by making it take longer to pull people in, therefore stunning them for longer, technically. I would reduce the range of Jean's spread attack because why does Jean have the same range as Mandy while she's focusing? I don't get that. Max, this one's a little intricate. I would rework this gadget that brings her back in time because what it does currently is it puts a thing on the ground and brings you back there. Instead, what I would do is I would have like a little shadow following Max that lingers 3 seconds behind to what you were doing back then. As soon as you press the gadget, you go back to that position and heal a bit of the health between then and now. Mr. P, I honestly want to see him with a slightly faster movement speed. This guy has like 0 ways to escape or defend himself when somebody's getting closer. I would rework Sprout's hypercharge to make the walls completely invincible. It doing damage like this could stay, but this does nothing. Nobody gets hit by this. Byron, he's already a very well-balanced brawler, so I would just make his hypercharge do something like stealing people's ammo when he hits them with this super, or something like that. Potentially even leave the puddle on the ground. Squeak, I would change his residue gadget and make it so then if somebody steps inside of it, it reduces its timer. Abilities like this need some kind of counter, otherwise they're always going to be broken, and this one's always broken. Lou, I would make Lou's ice block gadget actually look like ice. I would buff it to make it last like maybe 3 times longer to make it the longest invulnerability shield in the game. And if that's not enough, it could even spread the ice a little bit to slow nearby enemies, helping him make team plays. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Ruffs, I would let his field promotion star power also work on him. I just feel like that would be fun. Buzz, I would give Buzz a new mythic gear that gives him some kind of shield or maybe an overshield depending on what he does. I would change Fang's Divine Soul star power to make it a flat percentage reduction rather than it having like a 600 to 700 damage cap. Eve, just like Angelo, I would give her a timer when she's on water and make her get off the water, recharge that timer before she can get back on. Janet, I would delete her stage view star power and replace it with literally anything else because nobody ever uses this. Otis, I would make his ink refill star power base kit or a mythic gear because this is one of those star powers that nobody will ever not use. It's too good. Buster, I would give him a mythic gear or a hypercharge that makes his super even larger. Gray, I would make his walking cane gadget reticle actually go through walls the way it should. I know this is one of those things where people's gonna say, oh, you're just making the game easier. But I feel like to a lot of players, this just seems like a glitch. I would add some kind of delay between when RT can and cannot make a mark on a brawler because his super dealing this much damage per hit is maybe a little bit too much. Willow, I would make it so then she can slightly move around while inside of her dive gadget. And when I mean slightly, I mean just enough for her to get through this wall. Doug, I would let him charge his super by healing his teammates. I don't know why he cannot do that like Barry. Doug actually does not have a passive. Give him that one, please. Chuck, I'm gonna be honest, I would love to completely rework his entire kit, but obviously that's not gonna happen. So instead, I kind of want to give him a mythic gear that boosts his movement speed or something else when he's pretty close to one of his posts. Charlie, I would change her hypercharge so that instead of spawning spiders, it actually shoots out a giant spider web around it that slows and traps other enemy brawlers. Miko, I would just remove his record smash star power. It's way too specific, and for that reason, almost nobody will ever use it. Melody, I would make it so then if you die when you have 1 or 2 uses left on your super, and then you respawn, you still have have 1 or 2 left. Lily, I know they're already gonna do this, but I would delete this gadget, bro. Vanish is way too broken. Clancy, I would make him lose a couple tokens when he dies, maybe not an entire level, but enough to at least take him out of tier 3 temporarily. Mo, I would make it so then you cannot auto-aim his gadget to make it go directly onto somebody, because anytime you aim it normally, you cannot shorten the range. But if they don't want to change that, then what I would do is based on how far you drag the super button, that's how far his super goes. One or the other, Supercell, you gotta choose. Spike, I would remove and replace popping pin cushion because this type of gadget just feels outdated. For reference, this is one of the first gadgets ever added to the game. Bro, the amount of changes I would make to this brawler are insane. I've made an entire rework video on this guy. Like, why is he an assassin if he plays more like a controller? I don't really get it. But the one change he most importantly needs to become more of an assassin again is a super charge rate buff, or even a super recharge rate buff. Leon, I would buff his clone gadget to make 2 clones that go different directions. One of them could go to a player while the other one goes somewhere else. I would make it so then when Sandy hits an enemy with this sleep gadget, it actually takes a second between when you hit them and when they actually fall asleep. This could be in the form of a new bar that quickly goes down above their health, just to add some kind of counter to it, because currently there is no way to really avoid this. Assuming Amber's Dancing Flames gadget is not bugged anymore, I would make it so then enemies can actually shoot the orbs that are around her, and if they get hit, then they do some type of special effect. Meg, I would delete this brawler. That's hardly even a joke anymore because it seems like this is an impossible brawler for them to balance. All things considered, I would add some resemblance of a skill cap to her main attack. There is so much going on here that it's impossible to miss the damage. Surge, I would make it so then his power shield gadget does not give him 2 ammo. A one-time shield that is that powerful is good enough. I would either reduce the ammo gain to 1 or even 0. Chester, I would individually rebalance all of his supers to make them all worth using at some point, so then he can actually be balanced properly. Cordelius, his replanting gadget says he jumps over a piece of terrain quickly, but you can use it wherever you want. So I would either change this text or actually make it do what it says it does. Like, what if you could only use it when you're next to a wall or water or a fence hit? There are so many things I would change about this brawler, but the one most important change I would make is I would give him a shield while he is on top of an enemy. That one ability would allow him to be completely rebalanced. Draco, I would reduce the amount of ammo he gets when he supers, because why does he almost get all of it back? That's maybe a bit too much considering he just had 0 ammo. Kenji, I would nerf the effectiveness of his Nagiri Nemesis star power to 70 or even 60% reduced damage. Also, side note, it still needs to have a bar. I don't know why this one does not have a bar, but Fangs does. But yeah, those are the changes I would make to all 84 brawlers in Brawl Stars. Let me know what you think, subscribe, and I'll see you later.